Welcome everyone for our next speech here. And our next guest is Sebastian Segerstrom from FactSet. He's the Global Director of Banking Solutions there. And he came all the way from London today to speak to you about making complex simple, addressing data complexities. And yeah, I will directly hand over.
Perfect, thank you. Hi everyone. Good morning. It was not that long of a flight, even though it was a flight. Thank you for coming this morning. As you just heard, my name is Sebastian Segerstrom. I work at FactSet in our London office. And what we really want to touch upon today is making the complex simple and addressing data complexities. So hopefully most of you have heard about FactSet already, but we're a global market data and fintech company. And really the reason I want to say fintech as well is we're not only market data, we also do a lot of financial technology, which is essentially what we're going to talk about today. If we start off with the data trends that we're seeing, it's that digital transformation is now going beyond the cloud. There's just so much information everywhere, and it's difficult to really decipher that. Data is a differentiator, but then the question is, how do you actually get that to become a differentiator? And how do you untap that potential that's available there? And then the final piece is democratizing data. And that really sits together with the second piece of how can you untap the potential by allowing everyone in your organization to access all of that data that you have, both internal, external, third party, etc. And there's of course continued pressures on the ongoing needs for the business and being able to leverage that data more efficiently to really drive margin improvements. FactSet has something we call data management solutions, or DMS, that I'm going to refer to throughout this presentation. And why we have that is we come up as a technology firm. So 40 years ago when FactSet started, we did not have our own content. We started as a technology firm, stitching together multiple different data sets from multiple different vendors. So today, you can get industry-leading cloud delivery with FactSet. We have all of that infrastructure, and we have the concordance. So we've stitched all those data sets together over a really long time period. And of course, over that 40-year story of FactSet, we realized we probably need to get some content as well. We've acquired and collected multiple sources of content over the years, and we have over 26 internal data sets today. And you can really get multi-asset class data connected through our system. And then the third pillar is workflow solutions. So we have the content, and we have the technology to stitch that both together on our end, but also with your internal data and any other third parties that you might leverage. But it's all about solving for the workflow challenges that you, and of course, at the end of the day, your clients have. So moving beyond just delivery of raw content and building out solutions is really the key focus for us as a firm. And it's all at the security reference, the application development, and even the research and data science solutions that we're looking to do that. So when someone says FactSet, we don't want to say market data, we also want to say a fintech firm. I think that's really, really important to highlight. So the main challenges we're seeing that our clients are faced with is first off data silos. So you have so much data in different areas of the business, but it's really difficult to stitch all of that together. You also have under or over exposure of that data. So either you have a risk from a KYC standpoint, or you're not leveraging all of that data that you actually have or gather. There's discontinued symbology, so really it's not sitting together in an efficient way. And you have inconsistent, dirty data, if we can call it that. And then, of course, there's regulatory issues with all of those aspects as well. And just identifying not only public assets, but also private assets and stitching that together is key. What FactSet can do is we have an entity-centric data model, which essentially means that you can look at each separate entity and see how that's stitched together in the bigger narrative. Apple is easy to take as an example. So many different entities, so many different exposures globally. And knowing both what's public and private that sits under Apple is a very clear example of that. So we think of ourselves as smart, connected data network, And you have limitless levels of hierarchy. So you can go as deep as you like, all the way into the debt instruments, all stitched up to the parent. So you can manage your data with our services, which is screened and connected by us and leveraging that entity mapping and symbology resolution. We also have named entity recognition or identification, which means that in any type of document that you might have, we can pick up names of companies, names of people, and again, stitch that back to the hierarchy that I just mentioned. It's really important to have all of those aspects stitched together, but it's really difficult to do on your own. We have 40 years of history doing that. If we look at our content refinery, as we call it, it all starts with reference data at the bottom. Your core data, your event-driven data, macro, and even third-party, as well as real-time data, which FactSet also offers, pricing, corporate actions, then aggregate that up to the benchmark level, portfolio and research. And essentially, if you're having all of those different sources of truth across each data class, how do you harmonize those? And that gets to the bottom, derived analytics. If you have reference data, market data, and portfolio and research insights, how do you actually make analytics out of it? And that's by harmonizing all those different classes and all that different data across your organization. And of course, the different fields that you're looking to leverage that for. If we look at what FactSet offers, data, third-party data, real-time data, analytics, as well as proprietary data, so your data essentially, that we can leverage in the middle here by DMS and stitching all that together. We also have data as a service, and the difference between DMS and data as a service, and I'm going to do a German reference here, and I hope everyone knows about HelloFresh in this room. HelloFresh is essentially DMS, right? We bring you a box of all the goods, you do the cooking. Data as a service, which we also offer, is Uber Eats. You say what you want, and we deliver it ready-made. You can just start to eat it. It's really important to know that we offer both those aspects because certain clients want to get the ingredients but build themselves. And you might need that while also leveraging data as a service where you get the ready-cooked meal. The same thing there with named entity recognition as I talked about before. Again, having any type of documents that you look at and being able to pick out names, companies. You can even go as long as we can pick up the drugs from specific pharma companies and understand when that FDA approval is coming, but it's really difficult to stitch all of that together on your own. Then once you've selected either HelloFresh or Uber Eats, the next question is, do you want it through cloud? FactSet partners with Snowflake, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure. So really you can take that enterprise data management solution and plug in anywhere you like. The second piece is APIs. You want to sort of build more on everything that you're doing for application development. And the last piece, widgets. So if you sort of want to partner instead and take more of that ready meal delivery mechanism again, and I think that's key, both in the sense of what we do on the data management platform, but also what we do with all the underlying content. So you can take it essentially any way you like across a number of different delivery mechanisms. And then you ask, well, why should we trust FactSet with doing data management for you? Well, we have a hub and spoke model. Hub and spoke is a very American concept, so I do want to just explain that quickly. If we look at a wheel of a bike, in the middle you have the hub, and then you have all the spokes that connect into it. And what we have, of course, is 6,000 people working with data. So they collect that data throughout the day, continuously updating. We have 26 different content teams. So if we look at our global entity database, you can think of it as ownership, M&A data, IPO data, fundamental data. All of that comes from external sources. So regulatory filings, prospectuses, websites, essentially anything that we can pick out of those external sources. Our internal contributors collect that from a content perspective, but they also pick that up in the DMS hub. So they really work with each other. And of course, every time we do that, we have that data integrity layer. So we do validations, logic checks, analyst reviews, etc. And we have a master database of identifiers through this with reference data and all those linkages that I talked about before. It's both for the entities as well as the securities. And the hub and spoke operations work together. And if we look at the global security master, we work with all the symbol and numbering agencies, rating agencies, exchanges, to get that data on the pricing, benchmark, corporate actions, ownership, security reference data, as well as estimates and fundamentals. And this creates a really powerful ecosystem for us, because we really need a solid DMS on our end to make sense of all that data that we have across those 6,000 people that are collecting it. But why not then leverage all of that when you're trying to do the same thing internally? Important thing to note here is with our DMS, you can work with any other type of third-party data sets that you leverage. So you can stitch that together with any other providers and really have that golden layer, that hub in the middle, as you continue to build out your different spokes in your organization. And the question then, of course, arises, what are examples of data challenges? I think everyone here is struggling with CRM one way or another. Either it's about integrating it, or it's about maintaining it, or even the third piece, which is having your users actually leverage it and add all that information that you need. Me that focuses more on the banking side, we've really seen with investment banks trying to take in CRM systems that the senior bankers, the rainmakers, so to speak, feel that they don't want to upload any of that information, because that's their information. They've gone out and sourced that from the clients. They keep all of that in their heads. What's the main issue with that? Of course, apart from not having access to that information if that person leaves, you get, again, that issue with disconnected data. So one hand doesn't speak with the other, and there can, of course, be a number of different bankers working across the same type of clients. They're not sharing all that information. So a lot of clients came to us, it started really 3-4 years ago, by saying, can we grab some of the FactSet data into our CRM environment so that the banker feels that they get something out of it when they come into that CRM environment? It's actually a give and take, rather than just a take everything and not give me anything back. And of course, we can plug in and pump in all that data into CRM systems, and we have turnkey solutions into Salesforce, Dynamics, and Deal Cloud. But if you don't have the DMS at the backbone of it, it doesn't really make any sense. So what you can see here as an example is, first off, you need that entity hierarchy data to ensure correct data linkages across subsidiaries and parent companies. That's really number one. And you need to have that confidence of that information. So once you've done that, the second piece is, how can you take your information, your proprietary information, and stitch that together with any type of third party? We would, of course, want it to be FactSet data, because we love our data. But you have to connect your client accounts to either FactSet data or any other type of third-party data, and really co-mingle it in that environment to get a consolidated, precise insight into your clients. And one key aspect with that is that it allows you to further target clients and future prospects as well. We can auto-populate and manage all of your data in that CRM environment and provide a richer CRM experience. And the funny thing here is, if we look at the screenshot, all of this entity information down here, so sector information, headquarters, industry group, all of that is entity information which sits in our DMS system, and that's really the foundation in order to really know even where you're going to send any type of billing when it comes to that aspect of it as well. The other aspect is risks and opportunities through the corporate hierarchy. So again, leveraging the same type of data set. We have a really interesting example here. So sorry for the pronunciation, but Nanshang O Film Tech had sanctions by the US government between 2020 and 2022. That company is a subsidiary of O-Film Group, which is a public company that delivers a bunch of and supplies a bunch of major smartphone manufacturers parts, right? So Samsung, Apple, Xiaomi. So first off, you need the entity structure. Then the question is, what alternative databases are you using for news, sanctions, KYC, just understanding what types of risks there are. But again, if you don't have that entity structure to begin with, you're not going to be able to even find the sanctioned company, even if you subscribe to a data set that focuses on sanctions. So again, base layer of what we're doing, and then adding the databases, either FactSet databases or any third party that you have, or even your internal information on top. But you really need to stitch that together to see those types of risks, but also, of course, opportunities. And what is a presentation in this day and age without talking about AI? So I'm not going to talk about AI per se, but what I will talk about is we power AI chatbots with our clients today. And you're going to have the same type of issue with AI as you're going to have with regular data, which is, again, knowing the hierarchy and understanding where different data sets actually go. So this is just one way of looking at it, where you have the chat UX at the top, and then your infrastructure coming in after. We have an AI API that we've built, so a chat interface where you can ask questions and be directed to the different content, and that's when it becomes interesting. So in the federation layer, which sits here, that's really where you need to know where you're going to go. So are you going to go into documents and grab those, or are you going to go into content, or do you just want the answer of what is a stock price of Apple today, as an example? So we can see it as a traffic light, that federation layer. And what we've done is we've compartmentalized all pieces. So you take the federation layer, and then we divide the different answers that you actually want and divide that into different pieces, where we then send those traffic lights where you need to go. The issue that you have, of course, is if you have client content on the client chat infrastructure side, then you have to build the traffic lights on your end as well. Some clients feel that the data is just too valuable and too important to allow us to have it on our end. But many clients are coming around the same way as many came around to moving to cloud 10 years ago or 5 years ago, and moving to CRM 5 to 3 years ago, which is we can store your content as well on our end. It's of course secure, it doesn't touch anything else, and no one on FactSet can actually access it. But the federation layer, so that traffic hop, can direct all that traffic to your content as well when it's needed. So the important thing to think about here is that when you think about how you're going to solve for some of these challenges that we just went through, at the back end, you really need that data management layer. If you want to build it yourselves, or if you want it as a service, we offer both. But it's really important to think that even when you're going into chatbots, if you don't have that DMS background sitting, doing that hub work in the wheel, you're not going to be able to actually efficiently roll this out across your organization. So that was my presentation quickly on what FactSet offers for DMS. If anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot them over. Or everything was straightforward. Some people might got stuck at the HelloFresh thing and just thinking about food because we're getting close to lunch. If you have any questions, we have a booth, I think, upstairs. So feel free to swing by, and we're happy to discuss any additional questions you might have. But that's everything for us at FactSet today. Thank you for taking the time.